Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too, as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, live the life we love. The bliss of blamelessness, one of Buddha's phrases about unbending intent to make well being the dominant vibration in your life. Well, the way to do it is the joy of letting go, not holding on. Then you find what they call the fragrance of morality. You found integrity is the first step in the highest goals that we're trying to actualize in human existence. And then life becomes an extraordinary example whose reward is immediate. You feel it right now. But in order for old patterns to go and lose their sway, lose their power, new practices have to prove more valuable in keeping open the channels for joy. Yet we can't hold on to that happiness any more than we can hold on to anyone or anything. Trying to hold on in a world that's constantly changing is futile. Pulls us out of the moment, yet we do it all the time. But trying to hold on to the way we want life to be only leads to frustration and disappointment. So I let go of the way things were, and I'm just in the moment. As the Buddha said, the highest happiness comes from developing a mind that clings to naught. It doesn't matter what you don't cling to, just don't cling. It's a tall order. Let's not be flippant about it, especially when life asks us to let go of more than we think we can bear. However, while we can't deny suffering, holding on to it is what already adds to our pain. So let go. Now, all this week I'm going to talk about the Kundalini, that dormant potential of our nervous system, the spiritual gasoline. It took 7 years for me to say it's the energy of consciousness. As you expand your consciousness or expand your perspective, more energy gets released in the system. But first you have to learn to concentrate, prolonged attention to a single image or focus, and attend to that. All the scriptures say that a scattered mind stays superficial, can't go deep. And yoga has a particular critique to make. They say that the mind, before one starts practicing and understanding these things, is like a windswept lake. And so because of that, the images that you might get when you look into the lake, which is your mind, right, are broken up, fragmented. You can't see on the surface because the wind is whipping up the waters into a frenzy. And if you try to look beneath the surface, it brings up sediment from the bottom, and the peering beneath the surface is also murky. So they suggest that first you have to calm the mind. That's why in the Yoga Sutras, the definition of yoga is chitta vritti nirodha, the cessation of the fluctuation of the mind stuff. Until you can stop the mind from fluctuating, then you're not going to be able to leave the distractions, the pulls, that every thought form makes you go to the past, to the future, the different kinds of judgments, the autonomous voices in your head. But then that keeps you with what you already know. And to stop that, to put the brain on default mode, pause, so something else can arise, that only happens if you become an initiated person. You take on a practice. Otherwise, the emotional intensity of those inner figures that counsel us, that just makes us constantly trying to surmount the world, find permanent solutions to its problems. And if you look throughout history, and probably throughout philosophy also, you realize the problems of the world have never been solved. They may have been improved in certain ways, but they're always there because suffering is part of what happens when you incarnate in time. Things change, and as you know, we're also mortal. So how do you find that which is behind, beneath, in between, and yet permeates everything? Consciousness. How do you discover that surpassing state of pure cognition rather than being lost in what I call the archetypal dominance? All the things that have developed throughout our history to give us a survival advantage, to adapt ourselves, and yet that keeps us in the game. And in yoga, the idea is to not only be in your incarnation as clearly, cleanly, wisely, funnily, with as much fun and humor as you can, but also to find that thing which takes you beyond the transcendent aspect of our own life. That's the goal of the sages, not the goal of the people who tell you to stock away your 401k. So there's a physical cost for doing this, just like the people who concentrate on worldly activity, who are extroverted and develop tremendous virtuosity in their skills. In their skills. Well, the same is true of what happens if you go deep inside. There's a psychic cost for that, just like someone who's a workaholic or spends all their time practicing the instrument and denies their family or their lifestyle with other people, but become great at what they do. So there's pitfalls also of going inside. But the idea is to identify yourself with spirit, not with your body, not even with your mind, but with something much subtler than that. So understand that each of us has another power, another personality that we ought not to take for granted, but most of the times it's hidden. We don't even realize it's there. So immerse yourself in this pranic stream, this biological energy that we have inside you. It'll help you transcend psychology, religion, bring you into what I would call mysticism. And hopefully if you do it right, you won't end up psychically deranged.